Welcome to the 010 podcast, where Dr. Josie and Andy connect to create honest, playful, and authentic conversations about everything you may need to know to live a vibrant, healthy, and wholesome life.
All right, here we go. So welcome back to 010 podcast. Today we have Kristi Keller on with us, with myself, Andy, and Dr. Josie. We've got Kristi Keller somewhere outside of Jamestown.
Yes.
Kristi.
So I apologize if you see semis coming in the background. Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us who you are?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you so much to both of you for extending an invitation to be part of your podcast. I'm really excited to just have some conversation with you. My name is Kristi. Kristi Pfliger-Keller, and I am just kind of a jack of all trades, expert of none, as most people would say. I do a couple of things. First of all, I always tell people, first and foremost, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a passionate, creative gypsy, as I call it, like to try all kinds of different things twice if I like it. And I've just worked really hard to get to a point in my life where I am figuring out all the things that I love that give me joy and fill my cup with passion, and how to work those into a career and an alignment. And that's what I'm doing. And so most people go like nuts when I tell them, like, I have 3-4 different jobs that I do, but they're all in a capacity that I can manage and pick and choose to do, and they all use my talents. So first and foremost, I have been doing public speaking probably for close to 30 years on a variety of different topics. So I do a lot of conference events. I do a lot of work with long-term care organizations. My heart and passion is also in elderly care and services, dementia care. I also run a holistic wellness business out of Hazen, North Dakota, and that has been up and running for about 4 years, been doing well. And then also I have a gig with the state of North Dakota that I do, and I work with nursing home recipients, participants, residents that are on Medicaid, and have a series of nursing homes that I go to and do visits. So all 3 of them I can work together in a really cool schedule that works best to meet my needs, the needs of the work that I do, but it's all things I love. And I'm not sitting still in a cubicle. So it's everything I love.
Awesome.
Can I just ask, like, how when you say I fit it all into a schedule, like, how?
I know.
Like,
sounds
how?
crazy, right?
Yeah.
Well, the really cool thing is a lot of it's in my control. Again, plus we live in North Dakota, so the weather kind of dictates where you go sometimes. But I've also learned much in my career. I'm a recovering PPP, as I call it, perpetual people pleaser. I used to not say no to pretty much anything. And then also living in a small community, you figure out that if you are a person who likes to get things done, you tend to volunteer a lot for organizations or events. And then that gets out and you get tapped on the shoulder, and all of a sudden you're agreeing to do things that you're regretting to do things. And so I've really, over the last couple of years, have gotten more to the point where I try to only say yes to things that I know I can do wholeheartedly and successfully and fit my alignment to. And so that helps as well. So I try to do a good balance between all 3 of them, if that makes sense.
Is there anything that you have that's pretty like a holistic wellness business? I'm assuming that's services, which we'll dive into in a minute. But when it comes to services, like, it's people paying for your time, right? Which means like a set schedule in a way.
It is. Yep. And what the uniqueness with that business is that I really strive to do that on limited evenings and weekends. And so what that does is actually, I personally experience that a lot of times trying to get in for services. It's difficult, like when you're working full time, or I see a lot of kids. And so you're working around school schedules and activity schedules, and that's difficult as well. And so I really basically have a couple evenings a week that I'm open, and then usually a couple Saturday mornings a month that I'm available. And that really helps accommodate that as well, too. And so makes it easy for the clients I work with to get in as well.
Is that out of your home, Kristi, or is that somewhere else?
Yep, I actually do have a physical office space located in Hazen, and it's really awesome. When I first started out, so what I do is Reiki therapy, and I can get into more of that. But I actually, when I first started, I had a wonderful partnership with a massage therapist in our adjoining community who allowed me to share space. And so that's one thing too I'm also passionate about is businesses just starting out, so much expense goes into locations and getting your business established. And so was very thankful for that opportunity and sought that out. And then finally grew over about a year and a half, I outgrew her space. And so it was no longer conducive. I was seeing more clients and just needed more space myself. And so she was just gracious and helped me build and get established to the point where I could open my own. And then I now do that with other people. So I have some other providers that come in and share space with me as they're developing their talents and skills and client base as well too. So it's a great way to help each other out in a community.
Isn't that beautiful?
And that's actually how Kristi and I met. I was looking for some space, and I reached out to Kristi, and she was kind enough to entertain the thought process of maybe being in her space. It didn't work out because it just wasn't the right space, and she didn't really. You were kind to meet with me, but you really didn't have a lot of a wiggle room with your space either, right? Because you've got people in your space.
Yes. Yeah. But I try to be flexible because it's difficult, getting yourself established in a community. And especially for me with holistic, that's always tough too. You're breaking through some of those small town community barriers with the type of services you're offering. And it's like, how much do you invest and how much do you make it a risk? And so I was just grateful for the opportunities I was provided with partnerships and wanted to do the same with others as well, to give them an opportunity to build slowly so you don't have to be overextended to start out.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And I'm happy that you found a space. Yeah.
I did find a space, and your space is beautiful. Beautiful space.
You.
And it's interesting. Josie and I kind of touched on this a little before we started chatting with you, but
yes.
And I think you and I talked about it, Kristi, at one point too, but it's interesting that a community the size of Hazen, Beulah, you could say, has embraced the type of service that you offer in that space. Do you?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And they have embraced it.
Yeah.
Can you guys share for people that don't know the size of what communities you're talking about? Like, what are we talking size-wise?
So Hazen, the community that I'm in, is probably, last time it's like 3,500 people, I believe. And Beulah is just a little bit larger than that. So fairly good size for the two spaces. I think what's interesting about this is I grew up in the community, right? So people know who you are. I think that's a big piece of it. I'm hoping I haven't established myself as someone who's credible in the community. And I also I'm really passionate about sharing my story about why I do Reiki therapy, because it is something I sought out myself that just personally changed my life. I tried some other traditional, medicine, practical options, and it just wasn't obviously what I needed. And when I discovered it, I was so like, oh my gosh, excited. And I knew that I had people in my circle and in my family. Plus, growing up in a family where you don't talk about feelings or emotions, of how many of us walk around with this gunk that we carry on for years, impacting how we interact with the world. And if you can help find a tool that helps you relieve you of that in the body, mind, and spirit, it is beautiful and life-changing. And so it happened for me, and I was just so excited about it, which sought me to seek training and do research and work with a mentor and learn everything I possibly could to be able to offer that to others as well. And so I think that's part of maybe why people understand too that what it did for me as an individual.
So cool. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And definitely like a smaller, not just smaller communities, but in where we're from, it's hard to get into the holistic health. It's like people don't want to talk about it. So I found like discussing, I was in Lincoln for a while, and I was talking to the chiropractor that had been there for 40 years or whatever. He said took a long time to get, I mean, people knew that you're there, but people wouldn't share that they'd seen you, even when they got the results, because they were scared of what other people were going to think about you doing something that's out of the norm. So did you see any of that, or did you just like get going right away?
Oh gosh. Oh no. Definitely. And especially with the work that I do, there's a lot of religious apprehension about it in some different religious cultures as well, and including the one I belong to. And I remember getting, thinking about how I was thinking I always had to defend myself and the work that I did. And my husband, who's just absolutely amazing, we've been together since we were high school sweethearts, and he's the calm to my storm, right? And so I was expressing, my concern about this, and, had heard some feedback from what I thought was an ally in the community in my church of what they had said about me. And my husband just like took me by the shoulders, and he's like, what does it matter? He's like, you can convince those people until you're blue in the face, and they're not going to understand what it is that you're doing. He said, it's the people that you do touch and change who then tell their friend and their sister and their mother and their cousin. And he's like, those are the people that you got to put your energy into. He said, that's where you are going to get the return on your work that you do and feel like you're making a difference. And I just went, oh, why didn't I think of that? Of course, right? And it's hard, but I hold my head high because I know the work that I'm doing is making a difference, right? I see it in every day in the clients that I work with. And I've had also some amazing connections with school teachers and counselors in my community, because there's so many kids that I work with that get, I will say accidentally, diagnosed with ADHD. I use that term lightly, accidentally, but that seems to be the first go-to answer when it comes to behavior issues. And so much of it comes down to actually emotional regulation, or there's stress in the home and the kid is picking up on it and not sure how they're carrying it in the school, or they're super sensitive and they just want to take care of everybody in their classroom that's hurting, and they just don't know how to handle their own emotions. And so it's those simple tools in education that starts with one parent, and then another parent tells another parent, and another parent tells another parent. And, the naysayers, it's hard. They're always going to be there, no matter what work you do. But that's not where my energy is going to go. I've just kind of accepted that at this point. And kill them with kindness, right?
You're so confident in that. When you say that, it's like, yeah, this is the way it is,
yeah.
Beautiful thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get resistance, even in the larger communities. It's just part of that nature. I've told people until you've tried it, it's very difficult for me to be angry or upset or leery about something, right? Because I haven't tried it. And so keeping that open mind is really essential for me as well.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Oh my gosh, so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
So
do you think that's
Andy? Sorry, Andy.
Do you think that's, I think that's a great way of looking at things in general. Keep your attention focused on where you want to be, right? Not on where anybody else is, or not on even where you're at now, but where you want to be. You want to be, make a change. That's where you keep your focus on. Who cares? I think learning to not care about what other people think is such a freeing, it's so freeing, right?
It is. Yes. One of my favorite sayings, and it's a soul crusher if you think about this, but somebody once told me, nobody thinks about you as much as you think they should. Right.
100%.
And yeah, and that's our ego. We have this inflated persona we think we have, and that, we fret over what we said and what somebody, might be interpreting from it. And that person couldn't give two shakes about what you just said, right? They're at home worrying about themselves, right? And so all this energy is wasted going to worrying about what others are thinking about us when essentially they're not. And once you realize that, you can go home at the end of the day and sleep peacefully. It's beautiful.
So beautiful.
Do you think
that comes, I've often wondered this. Does it come with age? Is there any way you can feel that way in your 20s? Is there any possible way? I mean, I think it's a very rare gem of a person that feels that way in their teens and 20s. Josie?
Can I chime in here?
Yes, go for it.
I do think that it's possible. In this day and age, I think it's harder because we are comparing ourselves to others so more often.
True.
So, I mean, yes, I do think that there are people that are able to do that really well, but they're kind of like born that way. But it's honestly, when they look into it too, there's sometimes a chip on your shoulder or there's a deeper belief of, I don't care what people think, but why don't I care about what people think? I care what people think, but why do I care what people think? Does that make sense?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's still on either side of that, there is a little bit of a limiting belief or a insecurity or something that could be triggering it. I'm not saying it's always that way.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
It does. And I think it can come with age, it can come with experiences, it can come with trauma, it can come with all of those things. But the realization, I think, if we can heal ourselves, no matter what age you are, you can then heal generations that come after you, right? Because of your behaviors. So I'm hoping that once somebody realizes their power that they do have, then they're passionate about sharing it with others. And then they are that source of encouragement. They're that source of light, that when someone then sees them reacting in the world and going, oh man, like what are they doing? Or how did they get there? And then that spurs kind of that spark, right, of lighting that next generation and the next generation. And it's going to take forever, but I think it's possible. I really do.
That's cool.
I like that. Yeah, that makes sense. The generational piece. And, so I worked on a lot of babies in practice and,
Yes.
they're letting go of things that they don't even know is there, right? So like the sooner I was able to get my hands on a baby, I just felt like, yeah, life's going to happen and things are going to happen, but they're letting go of some things that are huge. And like, I get goosebumps doing it, right? Like they're letting go of things. We don't even know what they are. They're not telling us. They don't really even, maybe even understand, especially if it's years of stuff of what's been going on.
Yep.
I don't know. Like it's just a beautiful thing. So I love that you're seeing kids so much. I think that's new, newer. And I don't know, like that's just, that's setting them up for awakening and peace earlier in life. So yeah, they might be able to get out of what people think sooner than, this girl born in the 80s, right? Like, I don't know.
I know. And I think back to my own, I guess I'm a super sensitive, empathic person and didn't realize what that was until much later in life, right? But I had all these feelings and experiences I can remember early as a kid, but my parents were nowhere near aware or how to or had the skills of how to handle that, right? And so I was literally shut down or just told, like, that's not how you should think or how you should do things. And it made me feel uncomfortable then. I wasn't comfortable with myself until I figured this out as an individual. But to then now have kids that you can talk to them, you can tell them that their feelings and their experiences are normal, and then to have their parents support that at a very young age, oh my gosh, like how freeing that is to grow into an adult that is fully capable of taking charge and control of their emotions instead of blaming everybody else around them. And that's typically how we deal with conflict, right? Because it's my boss's fault, it's my spouse's fault, it's somebody else's fault for the way I feel the way I feel, when essentially we hold the power to all of that. So the younger we can give people that freedom, oh my gosh, the more peace this world will have for sure.
Love it. Yeah.
Yes.
And we were talking a little bit earlier before popping on, but explain how you're doing that for adults now, because you talked about going into businesses or like you're
yes,
creating like even the training that you just finished up, like you're doing this with adults as well.
Yeah.
In a different
I
level.
am. So in a different perspective. Yeah. So I also have a background in human resources. And I guess with that empathic piece, I was working in a variety of different jobs in the HR role, and you would see conflict happening. And a lot of times what we think is a conflict really isn't the conflict. You take away an onion layer or two, and you figure out that a person's behavior is really part of something else. And this is just a trigger, which is coming through in a workplace situation. And so, like for today, I actually did a training with a long-term care facility. And that is such a unique institution in itself because, one, you're coming to work in someone's home, right? Their residents are pay to live there, and this is the home they're living in. And so that's unique in itself. And then you have a whole myriad of different personalities and cultures coming together, and then also a high turnover rate. And so all of those kind of make a lot of challenge for people to understand what's going on. And so we take a humorous but very self-reflective look at how quick we are to point out the behaviors of others that we don't like or we don't appreciate. But when it comes to our own behaviors, we tend to look at it through a different glass or be really offended that somebody would call us out on a behavior. How dare they? And we want everybody to like us, so we never want to hold other people accountable for behaviors. And it's all about healthy communication, right? It's about talking. It's about looking at conflict from the perspective that conflict is good when done in the right perspective to come to a conclusion, to open minds. And so that's what today's training focused on, is how a lot of times we, again, sabotage our own happiness and success in the work that we do by our behaviors or beliefs that hold us back from seeing the truth or taking the time to get to know facts versus stories of what we make up in our mind. And then we react to that with emotion, which is not always justified. And that can cause a lot of wasted time as well. Like we go home at the end of the day and you lose sleep over a work situation when essentially at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, right? It's really nothing, but it'll sit and eat us alive for weeks on end, and we allow it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Good.
Easier said than done, I know.
True.
So, right. Kristi, tell us, let's do some shameless plugging of your business in Hazen.
Sure, absolutely.
Tell us the name of the business.
Yep, it is called Holistic Heart, Reiki and Wellness. Okay. And and I have a Facebook page. I have a website. I have online booking, which is super awesome, easy to do. You can go right on and find the services you need. And so I do Reiki therapy. I do personal coaching. I do speaking engagements, wellness events. I've hosted lots of different groups that want to come in and learn more about holistic issues. We've done anything from essential oils to sound therapies, just understanding, like even setting up your environment and your home and your space of how it can allow energy to flow through and feel good and feel safe and connected. I also have other practitioners that come in. I have someone who does sound healing. I have a massage therapist that comes through every once in a while as she travels through the area. And then also host every once in a while different practitioners who may just be visiting from other areas that we extend invitations to help people get exposed to other different types of modalities that are out there as well.
Cool. Yeah. Kristi's really good at social media. So I would suggest you go onto her Facebook page and hit the like or follow button because how do you find time to do the posts? I mean, honestly, that takes time, and you're very good at it and you're very consistent and your posts are a lot of fun. But there's fun and then there's There's words of wisdom, nuggets of wisdom. There's some there's compassion, there's stories, there's yeah. So I enjoy your social media. And but when do you find time to do it? Do you have it structured into your life, or do you just throw it out there when you can?
Actually, I have it structured. I've done a lot of research on the effectiveness of social media, and that's why a lot of companies give up on it, because they're like, I just don't have time for it, and I did one post and nobody liked it and nobody's watching it, type of thing.
Right.
And unfortunately, there is so much that's going on in the background with the algorithms and all of that on Facebook and social media, that consistency gets you more motion, basically. So you have to have that. So I have it built into my day, but Facebook has an amazing little tool about that you can create a post to have it posted later, right? So you can do all this work ahead of time and then just have it posted accordingly. And you also have to be strategic. There's great tools that Facebook provides to show you times of the day that your reader or your followers are most likely to see your posts. When are they on? And so aligning your posts with those statistics, it is super effective. And I found, as the fellow human, I really love people who share their stories, their connection, their transparency, right? My poor husband, he's not a social media guy, but of course he hears about my posts, right? Through, like someone will mention, oh my gosh, I saw your wife's funny video. And he's like, oh my gosh, what did she do now? Type of situation, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you do a really good job. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And it's only painful if we make it painful, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. You need to find if you're going to do it, you need to find the joy in it and have fun with it and stuff. Right.
Yes, absolutely.
Hey,
yes.
Are you on TikTok?
I used to, this is crazy. I used to be, but I got banned for some reason. And I could never create I actually used it all the time and I got banned. I didn't do anything illegal. I never got a response back. Why? So my account got shut down.
You got banned to the point of being shut down?
I did. Yes.
Holy
and I still
cow.
I know. I do not know which rule I broke. So.
Oh.
I know, right?
That's interesting. I think it takes.
I know.
Somebody must have said something. I don't know.
I don't know. I've tried everything to get my account back, and it didn't. So I kind of gave up, and I know that's impacting now a lot of people with it going away.
Yeah.
And so I've found though that my age group, the most age group that I have, they're not a lot of TikTokers. We're the old school Facebookers. So I'm fortunate that way. Again, I've done some research with my statistics to show that my audience largely is on Facebook and Instagram. So that's kind of the market that I spend more time on.
Good.
Yeah. TikTok's amazing though. It really is.
Yeah.
I learned so much.
I'm a TikTok girl. I love it. But
yes.
I have another question for you too. Do you do distance service? Do you do, distance Reiki?
Yeah, I am actually trained to do it, but honestly, it's not my favorite. And I have a lot of people that I can refer people to that are amazing at it. I have found I can do it, but I feel more connected with people when they're in the room with me. Yeah. But it is possible. You can do it distance. I'm trained to do it. I can do it. But for me personally, it's not my favorite type of delivery of the service. And if somebody would like that, I have an amazing couple people that I will refer to them in a heartbeat, that I know they'll get very quality type of care provided to them.
Do you get Reiki done to you, or any type of energy work, or do you know how to clear your own chakras?
Yes, both.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely both. That is actually one of the first key components of training that you learn as a Reiki provider. There's different levels of Reiki that you take, and I have worked myself up through the master level. And then basically when you take the first couple certifications, that is the crucial piece that you are taught, because it is super easy to pick up junk from other people or heaviness from other people if you allow it. And so part of the practice is to regularly protect yourself and clear yourself of energetic space and cleansing. But so I do it on myself before I start the day and end the day with clients. But I also have practitioners that I go to. And then also I like to, since I do travel a lot with all components of my job, if I can, I try to work in other practitioners so that I can help build a network in, because I get questions all the time with someone calling me and saying, oh, my sister lives in this community. Would you happen to know anybody that lives out there that does this service? And so I want to make sure I'm providing confident and quality referrals. And so I try to get to as many practitioners as I can as well, to have that experience and relationship with them too.
That's awesome.
Yes.
It's great.
Yeah. Yep.
Josie, do you have any other thoughts for Kristi?
Well, not necessarily about your practice for sure, but so besides getting work done on yourself, we have all sorts of women who are, we're all just trying to stay healthy and do the things we're passionate about. What would you say, like, your maybe 2 or 3 things, like your top things that you must do to make sure you're taking care of yourself?
Absolutely. First and foremost is grounding. And I know people are like, what do you mean by grounding? Getting your breath and your feet, your heart rhythm. So many of us do not breathe properly. And it sounds crazy, but to take those long, deep cleansing breaths with your feet firmly planted on the floor and being conscious of that breath coming in and that breath coming out is such a beautiful and relaxing tool that we forget we have the capability to do any time of day, right? I think when people think, oh, practice your breathing, that it only comes into play when you're having a baby, right? With Lamaze classes. And that essential breathing is so important to regulating your system consistently all through the day. And so I really, if I'm feeling stressed or tired or overwhelmed, or just at the end of the day to want to clear maybe just people I've encompassed across the day, clear, make sure I'm not bringing home anything that I shouldn't be. I'll just do those deep breaths and clear that out. And then also I'm a big journaler. I love to journal thoughts, feelings, because so often I struggle sometimes with my words, getting them across, to really articulate where my feelings are coming from. And so I found that for me, a powerful tool is writing it down. And it's like a release. It's no longer sitting in my heart or in my mind. Once I get it on the paper, it is such a moment of freedom, and I can read it. I can self-reflect. Sometimes I burn it because I don't want it to, I don't want it to exist anymore. And it's a very freeing tool to do that as well. So those are 2 of my
Great one.
I guess, healing mechanisms I use. And I would love to hear what your guys's are as well, because I'm sure you both have some amazing things. What do you guys do?
Gosh, Andy, we're quite similar, aren't we? I'll start with mine. Mine is journaling too. Journaling is huge for me. I agree with everything that you said about getting it out. But what I also found was sometimes what I journaled out was really not true. It was the story that I made up in my head about a situation, and then I could come at something with more factual after the fact, after the fact that I wrote down. But for the most part, like when I'm not doing that, I notice that I'm not as centered. I will ask this because I wonder if you know the answer. I have been told now I ground through my feet often, but I am also not grounding to a home anymore. And I was told to ground up, to bring energy up and out. And I had some body work type stuff done here. I had it done before I left, and both of them said, you really need to think about connecting up here and letting that be your compass more than the earth right now. And so I've been working on that. It does make sense. There's a lot of lightness that comes with that. If I make it come up, my energy come up rather than always passing it down. I don't know.
Yeah.
Have you heard that before?
I have heard that before, especially like you said, when you don't have a home base right now, that makes perfect sense. Yes.
Yeah. And I just finished the book, Untethered Soul. I don't know if you ladies have read that.
Yes. Amazing.
And I read that on the way to Hawaii. And so I was just trying to take like two things from the book to do. And one of them was like bringing your emotions up rather than always pushing them down to the ground.
Yeah.
And into the heart, and let the heart and the mind figure it out. You stay in the background. So
love it.
I know, it was cool. So I would say, yeah, journaling, the grounding is a big one, but I'm a big mover. Like movement really, really helps me. A stagnant day is hard on me. So even if it's a walk or a bounce on my tramp or something, those are probably the most centering things, is journaling and movement. And then I'll jump into meditation. Yeah. How about you, Andy?
You know, for me, I feel like I just realized this recently is I had a routine for a long time, morning routine and an evening routine, and that it all disintegrated a couple years ago. And I've been trying to get back into it. And what I realized is that whatever my routine was then no longer fits for me anymore. It doesn't resonate with me anymore. And I've tried so hard to keep going back to that, right? And it's just not working for me. And so we're so silly, right? In how we get stuck in things. Like, duh, my life has changed. A lot of big things in my life have changed. So why wouldn't the things that I find healing and the things that I find growth from, why wouldn't those change too, right? So it kind of had to smack me upside the head to make me realize that, yeah, my things have had to change. So currently, right now, what I do for healing is I try to find silence and let my brain, so whether you want to call it meditation, sometimes it is meditation, but sometimes it's literally just silence. I find that in my car. I find that in my, in the morning in my home. And gratitude. That's what I honestly, I found a lot of healing in just every single day saying thank you for every single thing that I've felt, motivated. And there's so many things to say thank you for, right? Even the littlest, tiniest things. Thank you for this. Thank you for this connection,
Yes.
So many thank yous to come from my day that at the end of the day, I'm just almost overwhelmed with all the things that I have to be grateful and thankful for, that I find a lot of healing and joy in that. So those recently have become, the last, 6 months or so, those have really been the two things that I've been drawing upon. But sometimes it's yoga stretching, sometimes it's straight up meditation, sometimes it's Bible-based, things that are Bible-based, I'm draw from those. So it's really flows for me. It's the bounce, the trampoline, that type of thing, the vibration plate. Those all have been ways in which just kind of depends on where I'm at in the moment. So
I want to make a note of this, that everything we talked about, besides you might need to find a piece of paper, but you wouldn't have to. You could just write it down and whatever. But these things are free, right? These are things that are accessible to everybody, in one way, shape, or form. So don't have FOMO and, feel like you're missing out on something because you can't afford it, or you don't have access, or you're from a farm or whatever. Like these are all things that are they're right here. They're right there.
Yes.
Tools within you that have always been there. You just got to use them.
Right.
Absolutely. Great reminder.
And I think honestly, that's a great place for us to part. Do you think?
Yeah, that was beautiful. Yeah. Thank you.
Unless
Kristi,
either of you have any thoughts?
You.
Any last thoughts, anybody?
No, Kristi, how do people reach out to you? How do people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can reach me out on Facebook, Instagram, or even the Holistic Heart Reiki Therapy website. Super easy to find. Just Google Reiki Therapy in Hazen, North Dakota, and I should pop up. I'm the only provider in the area, so super easy.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Kristi, thank you so much, and please drive home safely and cautiously, and stop in Bismarck if you need to.
I will. Thank you so much, both of you. I'm such an honor to be part of your project, and thank you for making this world a brighter place and getting the word out there about taking care of each other and ourselves. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And thank you. You do the same on such an amazing scale. So thank you so much.
All right. Okay. Thanks, you guys.
We'll see you guys next time.
Have a great night.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on the 010 podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and stay connected for more insights on a vibrant, healthy, and wholesome life. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram at 010 Retreats, or you can find our YouTube channel under 010 Podcast. If you're looking for retreats, check out our website, 010retreats.com.